Good day, my name is Maria Angelica Alexandria Tababa. I am from Group 4 of BSDC 3B. Today we will talk about mixed method analysis. But before we proceed to the discussion of mixed method, we should first have a review about the classification of methods and types of data that we bring about on each method that the other group have discussed. Through the use of the paradigm, we can organize or group the categorized methods through to positivist. It includes experiments, surveys, and content analysis. We also have interpretivist. It includes ethnography and textual analysis. By the use of each topic, we can be able to organize or group methods as stated to their unit analysis, assuming that our studies scrutinize senders and receivers. Thereupon, we can apply it. We can use surveys, experiments, reception analysis, and ethnography. Granted that our study ponders messages. Hence, we can run a textual analysis and content analysis. We can utilize case study in case we are considering different messages, senders, and receivers to be notified about our research. If we are using mixed method, we can thus conduct number 1, a study within a paradigm that utilizes content analysis of a newspaper article and a survey on its own readers. Number 2 is a study across the paradigm with the same units of analysis. For example, is a research that utilizes quantitative content analysis and qualitative content analysis of the same newspaper article. The benefits and challenges of mixed method analysis. It is more difficult using a mixed method analysis rather than doing a project with a single method. But there are reasons why you should use mixed method according to Heathian, Murphy, and Nicole 2007 and Small of 2011. And there is also challenges and issues according to Johnson and Onweg-Busey of 2004 in creating it. Number 1 is we have complementarity and comprehensiveness. The information we gather or we collected using one method only possess of strength and weaknesses. With the use of mixing method, it allows us to address the weaknesses of any methods. Think of a method with positivist and interpretivist paradigm. Doing mixing method within the same paradigm makes the data which covers not only the message, merely also their receivers and producers. The study of such information hence given us an aggregated image of specified method. In the meantime, mixing method over paradigm generates data whereupon it gives us multi-phase perceptions of our research subject matter. Number 2 is confirmation. By the analysis of mixed method data, we are able to verify the correlations we can contrarily formulate by employing from just one method. In agenda, setting theory by its own nature contends that the media explains what are the individuals are talking about. Number 3 is commensurability. While comprehensiveness, complementarity, and confirmation are the profits of analyzing mixed methods, this focuses on the philosophical issues, putting the analysis data which illuminating the different paradigms. We can recollect each paradigm portrays a perspective about a reality and appears with its own point of view to study that reality. During the making of the multi-paradigmatic analysis, we should cope up with the different approaches of textual analysis and content analysis. Content analysis is an assumption that is directed and deductive in approach, while the textual analysis in deductive and data grounded. One of commensurability are the question emerges. This goes to how you engage, or else there will be competing arguments regarding the study and the reality. Assuming that you didn't speak up for the commensurability issue, that your analysis stays defendant because there is no clear explanation and well-founded philosophical foundation. What are the considerations in using mixing method analysis? By creating mixed method research, you are required to recognize the following items that factors the conceptualization of a research problem, data gathering, analyzing, and the interpretation of data. The following are the lists that need to be considered first before we put them into analytical processes of mixed method research into the next part. First is we have framework. Typically, mixed method research entangled the interrogation theories. A multi-topic, it's the receiver source added with messages. Yet, it is a single paradigm or study research problem that needs the union of message-centric speculation and human-oriented theory. The second one is the nature of data types. Mixing method research is entangled with at least two categories, sets, and types of data. Assuming that we have a single topic, yet it is a paradigmatic research, at that time, you will have two sets of data. Your message analysis example will have quantitative data for content analysis, while on the other side, you will have qualitative data for textual analysis. Next is we have the method timeline. These are the common types of mixed method research designs according to Small of 2011. First is we have the concurrent design. It conveys that the methods are enforced at the same time. The information or data are collected stimulously and subsequently analyzed. Number 2 is we have sequential design. It entails the implementation of only one method before the other. In this situation, the information or data from the first method are analyzed first. This initial analysis hence to notify the implementation and conceptualization of the second method. Nested design is the subcategory of sequential design, wherein associators from the first method are asked again to enter the second method for the research design.
Process. According to Edmond and Daniel, analytical processing is fundamentally different from other types of processes. They also said that analytic processing is known as heuristic processing. In heuristic processing, the requirements for analysis are discovered by the result of the current iteration of processing. That's according to Edmond and Daniel. Also, according to David Lushin, analytical process involves the interaction between analysis and collection of aggregated data as means for improved analytical performance. But also, the analytical process is the foundation of mixed method analysis. Begin with the statement of the problem and objectives. And it is in the problem where we articulate whether the project covers several topics or paradigm. Then, we develop our study frameworks depending upon the requirements of our problem, and our methodology align with the frameworks to ensure that we gather the data that answer our problem. In short, analytical process is very important in research, in gathering the data that answer our problem. Next is we have the paradigms, which is the single paradigmatic mix method and the multi paradigmatic mix method. So first is the single paradigmatic mix method. If the project involves only one paradigm, then analysis is quite straightforward. But the additional challenge in our case is that we are now dealing with two sets of data which come from two methods na binubuo ng ating methodology. And this methodology aligns with our framework, research problems, and objectives. First method is concurrent. This concurrent has a two resource material, the positivist and the interpretivist study. So, positivist study. If we are to implement the two methods concurrently, then we need to perform the quantitative analysis. So, for example, if we have one set of data from our survey and another from content analysis, then we must maintain an independent instance relative to our data set. And then, the third person or the researcher, we need to use his perspective from the beginning to the end of our paper. But in interpretivist study, if we are to implement two methods concurrently, then we need to perform the qualitative analysis. For example, if we have one set of data from our textual analysis and qualitative reception analysis, then it is requires our close interaction with the data set. These include our reflexivities as we make sense of our data, and as the analysis is strongly grounded on our insight and interpretation, then we must use our perspective throughout the paper. So, for short, positivist study, the set of data is only relative to our data set. So, we need others' perspective to put in the beginning and to the end of our paper. But in interpretivist study, the set of data is strongly grounded on our insight and interpretation. So, we use our perspective throughout the paper. So, either positivist or interpretivist approach ang kailangan lang natin or pagpipilian kung paano natin ipipresent ang data natin. So, after we organize our analysis, address the first and second objectives, present the data from that method, we then present the data for the other objectives accordingly. So, once we have analyzed, present our data sets accordingly to our objectives, then it's time for interpretation. So, that's the concurrent method. Another method is sequential. In this method, timing is the defining element of this approach because a project with sequential design is correspondingly multi-stages. So, we need to perform content analysis, determine the breed-mediated message, use binding instrument to ask respondents about their awareness, attitude, knowledge, and practices regarding mediated message. Then, immerse ourselves in a mediated message, surface our own insight and reflexivities, then engage viewer information about their own understanding and meaning making. So, we need to do these all stages about this method so that we can gather data that we can present to our objectives. So this is the sequential method. Next is the second paradigm, the multi-paradigmatic mixed method. This mixed method design poses additional challenges because we are now contending with two paradigms and raises the issues of commensurability. So the easiest way to explain this is which person perspective we use in our project. So, kailangan ba natin ng positivist study, which is others' perspective, o interpretivist study, which is our own perspective? We also indicate here the overall anchor paradigm of our research. So, however, pwede din natin itanong, what is our basis for this decision? So, the answer is, which of the project components answer our research problem? And which one provides complementary or confirmatory answer? Then, we first present findings and follow by the complementary and confirmatory methods. So, that's the multi-paradigmatic method. So, that is all my part, and the other will discuss by my group mates.
Interpretation principles for mixed method studies. To understand the collected data, we must first complete the analysis needed by our mixed methodologies project, whether it is single or multi-paradigmatic, concurrent, or sequential. This primer section on data interpretation has covered a lot of ground. We'll just cover the fundamentals of mixed method data interpretation in this part. In the next part, we will show how these ideas have been put to use in past research. Reading across data has three parts. First is reading objectively and subjectively. Second is reading for breadth and depth. Third is reading for confirmation and disconfirmation. Reading objectively and subjectively, the boundary between interpretivist research is increasingly blurred when it comes to data interpretation. Data interpretation involves combining subject and non-contextual experience with objective data. It is our job as a researcher to make sense of the data by drawing connection between different findings. Next is reading for breadth and depth. Multi-paradigmatic mixed methods projects allows us to look at a phenomenon in great detail. We need positivist data to see the larger picture. We may extrapolate the findings of a sample to all individuals if the study follows the concepts of probability and randomness. Interpretivist data is the data that enables us to look at a certain portion of the image in more detail. Last is reading confirmation and disconfirmation. The results should always confirm one another in single paradigmatic investigations. In fact, this implies that all survey and content analysis that are in sync. People claim they watch what is prominently shown on television, for example. The issue is more serious with positivist research, while interpretivist research has less drawbacks. To explain discrepancies in the data, researcher must go back to the conception and execution stages. Among those surveyed, half of them think the show's reporting is sensationalistic in nature. In contrast, just 9 of 36 people who took part in focus interviews thought the reporting was sensationalistic. Linking to theory, when interpreting data from single paradigmatic or multi-paradigmatic initiatives, it's essential to keep in mind the inherent variation across paradigms. In the event that this research is based on just one paradigm, we will interpret the results appropriately. The mixed method project's contemporaneous and sequential design provides insight into the abduction process as a whole. If the project is designed sequentially, the inductive or deductive method to analysis and interpretation is used. Next is providing implications. A shared or created reality is the product of the subjective realities in positivism and the internal objective reality of the world in interpretivism. When explaining the consequences of mixed methods research, we must keep this in mind, a top-down behavioral at each step. Campaign to minimize the possible effect of sensationalistic news delivery might be proposed. As an example, if our reception research on the television news program was solely positivist in character. As positivist research is deterministic, this makes sense. We might propose bottom-up participation activities where individuals can better make sense of their comprehension of the news if the research is purely interpretivist.
Understanding the types of research report and their audience. What is a typed research report? A research report is a well-crafted document that outlines the process, data, and finding of the systematic investigation. It is an important document that serves as a first-hand account of the research process, and it is a typical considered as an objective and accurate source of information. Um, in, in many ways, a research report can be considered as a summary of research process that clearly highlight findings, recommendations, and other important details. Types of research report, we have qualitative research report and one quantitative research report. Qualitative research report, it's outline the methods, process, and findings of the qualitative methods of systematic investigation in educational research. A qualitative research report provide an opportunity for one to apply his or her knowledge and develop skills in planning and executive qualitative res- research project. A qualitative research report is usually descriptive in nature. In addition to presenting details of the research process, you must also create a descriptive narrative of the information. And Quantitative research Quantitative research is a type of systematic investigation that pays attention to numerical or statistical values in a bit of find answer to research question. In this type of research report, the the researcher present quantitative data to support research process and findings, unlike a qualitative research report that is mainly descriptive. A quantitative research report works with the members that it is a numerical in nature. Target audience. Also, a research report can be said to be technical or popular based on the target audience. If you are dealing with a general audience, you would need to present a popular research report. If you're dealing with a specialized audience, you will submit a technical report. Technical research report is a detailed document that you present after carrying out this industry-based research. This report is highly specialized because it provides information for a technical audience. that is information for individual with average knowledge in the field of study. For example, of a technical research report included legal and medical research report, and popular research report is one of a general audience that is a individual who do not necessarily have any knowledge in the field of study. A popular research report aims to make information to everyone. It is written in very simple language, which means it's easy to understand to finding and recommendation. Example of popular research report are the information contained is in newspaper and magazine. Academic audience 1. Teachers, panel members, and students. Teachers, as a part of teaching process, I would provide the student with an overview of the tasks and projects to be complete. It would share two rubrics with my student before beginning so they are aware to the expectation to themselves and their products. During this conversation, the student knew what was to be done, how it would be assessed, and for who are they creating their products. Teachers during this conversation, the students knew what to be done, how to be this, and for who are they who were creating their products, creating a meaningful audience would we have provided a deeper learning experience that could have provided relevance for performance tasks, those helping to create authentic tasks with a purpose audience. Panel members is a similar to classroom discussion, but it is a carried out in the microcosmic settings, has simplified in a general understanding discussion. What they talk about is an issue or topic that is a question for them. Their talk consists of advising and examining examining different proposal over the issue. Discussion is known to be a good teaching technique for students to develop higher order thinking skills that basically let them be able to analyze, manipulate, and interpret information. And last, students. Student is a classroom environment of shared knowledge and shared auto authority between the students and the teacher, with the teachers giving freedom to the students to experience with their own learning. Make audience 2. Academic conference organizers, journal and book editors and reviewers. Academic conference organizers. Academic conference organizers is an important part of a research life and is an opportunity that most young researchers look forward to. However, while it is no doubt an exciting experience, it presents a scary prospect for most research. It is natural for even seniors and experienced researchers to feel out tad nervous while addressing a large audience. But for young research who are presenting for the first time, the whole process can be overwhelming. Do not nervous if you need to rustle things, even if that means you have lost your original perfect program. If you want a successful event, you need to stay fixable as much as possible. Keep track of the change to ensure that the latest program version is always up to date. An academic conference organizer takes a lot of works, and each process always throw up own surprises, but it's worth it. Make an academic event happen is one of the best way to shape the discourse and contribute to advancing academic dialogue in your field. Journal and book editors and reviewers. A simplest system or peer review involves a single editor and a pool of reviewers. The editor is usually academic who perform a role on top of the full-time job. Scans all submission apart from articles that are clearly unstable for the journal on submission are sent out between 1 and 4 reviewers. The editor usually asks reviewers whe- whether they think that the submission should be published and will expect an answer support a detailed review that includes suggestions of improving the submission. Journal and book editors and reviewers, if you submit your work to a journal like this, you can expect to wait several months for a decision. The editors will be wait for all reviewers to be complete before making a decision. On the positive side, you can expect to receive two or more detailed critique of the paper which may make helpful suggestion for improvements. If you review for these types of journal, you can expect to receive submission of varying quality, some of which may not be to be journal, but you will be expected to provide a detail and review and recommendation about whatever the item should be published. Academic audience 3. External audience. External audience do not have to inside the information or common background shared by internal audience. In writing to an external audience spell out acronyms and use terms which are universal and are easily understood. External audience may need background information which would be necessary when communicating with internal audience. External audience are those prospective customers or governments in- entities that you influence with advertising, sales, or traditional marketing initiative to achieve your goals.
Good day, everyone. I am James David Santiago, and this will be the continuation of the topic components of research process. The first one is methodology. Methodology describes the procedure or strategies used to find, select, process, and analyze the information about the topic of your research. The methodology portion of research article allows the reader to critically examine the study's overall validity and dependability. And next will be the results and discussion. The research portion of the research paper contains a description of a primary findings, whereas the discussion section interprets the findings for readers and discusses their importance. There are two types of results writing. The first one is quantitative results writing, and the second one is the qualitative research writing. Writing a qualitative results involves a comprehensive qualitative analysis, as well as the ability to communicate the account of numbers and statistical tests in a clear and concise manner. Keep in mind that the way figures and statisticals are reported is governed by the rules. For example, never begin a sentence with a numeral. Note that numbers less than 10 are often written as words. The citation style that your school or the institution where you intend to publish your work requires you to report the results of statistical testing. Qualitative results writing. Writing qualitative findings, on the other hand, is dependent on the study's research design and techniques, as the composition of the article is based on the methodological approach of the study. Creswell 2006 mentions numerous styles for reporting findings. A phenomenological qualitative research report, for example, would look at the communication phenomenon from the I perspective or the first-person point of view, but an ethnographic research report might employ a third-person or they perspective. What's crucial in the write-up is that the themes should be properly labeled to justify them. The relevant name and description of the categories are included in the labeling. To help readers comprehend the context of the subject, the research must provide relevant statements from the raw data. Readers will be able to identify with your line of argument and reasoning if you provide pertinent excerpts from the raw facts. Remember that study participants must not be identified in the research report. Therefore, remove any information that could identify their identity, unless they explicitly agreed to be mentioned in the report. The next one will be the summary and conclusion. This chapter has two parts, the summary and conclusion. Summary is a brief explanation or description of the main ideas in a text, research paper, or essay, while the conclusion is the piece of the narrative, essay, or book in which the research topic is finally answered. And the next one will be the implications and recommendations. This chapter answers the "so what" of question asked by the researcher at the beginning of the investigation. This chapter explains how the research contributes to theory. It forces researchers to give a thorough explanation of how the conceptual framework looks following data interpretation. It enables them to describe a new theory that has emerged as a result of the research. In addition to that, this section also discusses the methodological concerns that have evolved as a result of the study. It explains the methodology's validity as well as the significance of the data collection process on the research findings. It includes suggestions for future research methods. It also goes into how the findings can be used to enhance certain practices and policies. The tone of the conversation is prescriptive, yet it is nevertheless grounded in study findings. And the last one will be the bibliography. When writing bibliography, you can use a variety of citation or reference style. The styles are a set of guidelines for referencing the sources listed in the study report. Writers employ all of this to avoid plagiarizing other people's work. So there are three most popular citation styles in the field of communication and media research. Those are the American Psychological Association, or most commonly known as APA style. The next one will be the Chicago Manual of Style. And the last one is the Modern Language Association, or MLA. The APA style is one of the most widely used report writing formats. It originally developed for the social sciences. The style has been adopted by a wide range of disciplines as a result of its widespread use in journals and books. While the Chicago style is used by authors who seek to publish in the fields of literature, history, and the arts. Unlike the APA, this style requires authors to include the entire source in a footnote or endnote. And lastly, the Modern Language Association, or MLA style. It is often used in language studies articles. In terms of how sources are written in the bibliography and how sources are mentioned in the text or inside the article, citation styles differ. Remember that each citation style has an in-text citation. When using these styles, consistency is essential.
Mark, Dave, or Lucas, BSDC 3B. Components of research process. Here are the components of research process. The first one is what we call abstract. Abstract must be include the sufficient and important information for the reviewer, judge the nature and significance of the topic. In addition, abstract should summarize the substantive result of the work and not merely list topic to be discussed. Abstract highlight major point of your study and explain why your work is important, what the purpose, what you concluded. The second one is the introduction. So when we say introduction serves multiple purposes to your research. It represents the background of your study and the aim, give an overview and some insight about your topic. A good introduction will provide a solid foundation and encourage the readers to continue on the main part of your study. Once you caught the attention of your readers with your powerful introduction, they will intend to read your research study. The third one is the review of related literature. A review literature is a comprehensive summary of previous research on a topic. The literature review surveys scholarly like articles, books, and other sources which are relevant to a particular area of the research. Hence, the review of related literature describe, summarize objectively, and clarified this previous research. It should give a theoretical base research and help you, the researcher, determine the nature of your study. The fourth one is study framework. Theories are formulated to explain, predict, and understand a phenomena and in many cases to challenge and extend existing knowledge within the limit of critical bounding assumption. The theoretical framework is the structure that can support and hold a theory of a research study. The theoretical framework introduce, describe the theory that explain why the research problem or under the study exists itself.
Good day everyone, I am Julian Abigail Esquida from Group 4 of BSDC 3B. Now, moving on to the key consideration in writing research. First, we have the focus. In writing a research report, you should have clear purpose and parameters in creating an outline and sticking to the paradigm of the research. Helps us in ensuring the consistency. Learning from the narrative exposition of the thesis, dissertations, and journal articles that you have read is also help in creating your own report. And second, we have the organization. In writing a good research report, the researcher must be good in writing and also organized. There should be a logical presentation of ideas at the end of reasonable conclusion. Researchers must prone their ideas to achieve at a refined paper. Ask for assistance. What is the conclusion do you wish to support when you finish your research? And the third one is tone. A research report is a well-written scientific paper that is simple, accurate, and precise. The language of the research output must be free from unfamiliar vocabulary and jargons. Tone refers to the writer's attitude towards the readers and the subject of the message.